All right, here we go. Chad Brendel, BearcatJournal.com. It's finally upon us, Coach. It is the week of camp. It is time to do our annual
A
breakdown
little
of.
behind. Usually we do this a little bit earlier.
We do, but you're busy.
Or you're busy.
Yeah, one of the two. We tried last week. It didn't work out. We'll get to the roster in a minute. I got to ask you this first because it's what everybody wants to know. I know you told me where Cincinnati's going to end up when all the dust settles off air, but on air, you see Texas and Oklahoma go to the SEC. You see everything that's happening from 10,000 feet. What does all of this signify to Luke Fickell? Because I know, from your position, it's got to be very interesting at the least.
I'm not going to say I'm Nostradamus or anything like that, or however that is, but no, I always kind of believed that there were some things that were going to happen. There's always transition. This world we live in, but in general, in sports, and we also talked about it in recruiting and a lot of things. But then I actually thought it was going to maybe accelerate because of COVID, just with coming out of it and how things have a chance to change. And then it kind of happens, with the Texas and Oklahoma kind of dropping a bomb out of nowhere. What does it mean for us? I really don't know, other than, hey, there's a lot of changes that are out there. There's a lot of things that are happening. You always got to believe if you're not, being proactive, you're being reactive, you're behind. So whatever that means, I don't exactly know. I'd like to say you have that crystal ball. But I still believe here in the next 6 months through an entire season, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen in all different leagues, meaning people solidifying, people trying to hold on. I don't know. But there's going to be opportunities, whatever that brings. You just got to be ready and be the right one.
I know you go into your bubble once Friday hits, once Thursday hits, because you guys report on Thursday. But how much of this have you been watching, paying attention to?
I try to read about it, just trying to follow up and then asking some of the people, whether the guys that are involved in, not saying ADs and things like that, but people who are in the know, in the media of some sorts, the Chad Brendels of the world, just if they're hearing anything, what is the vibe? Is there a lot of things going to happen? But I think it's all speculation.
Yeah.
Somebody told me a couple of years ago when these things happen, they happen really fast, and nobody really has any inclination of how and when it happened, but it happens really quick. And that one so far has happened pretty quick. Does anything else happen? Who knows? The reality is you got to be in a position when things do happen, if there's something that's an opportunity for all, and it's a good thing, then more than anything, you got to be ready to do whatever's necessary.
Let's get to this season. I think Justin's calling me now. Yeah, we'll put that on mute. Let's get to this season. A lot has been made of expectations and where the ceiling is for this team and achieving everything that you want to achieve. How do you've been asked a million times about the expectations. As we go into camp, how do you think your team has handled this offseason in working towards that?
Well, I think there's just coming out of the situation of COVID and all the things last year, and even still having to deal with it, it does in some way. There are some positives, meaning it does make you have to be a little more focused on some of the things and hopefully not over worried about the outside things. What you haven't been able to do in college football, you can't do is do a lot of team things together, meaning on the field. You can do some things in the summer in the classroom. So you don't really get to see what the vibe of everything and where everybody is, when you putting things together on a football field. So a lot of those questions that we're and how we're handling this is really going to be much more noticeable as we start into camp, because that's when the college football talk starts. That's when you start to see guys interacting and how they're handling, what camp is, and it's a grind. Is there a complacency? Is there a level of something different? Do we need to take a different approach and focus as a coaching staff? But from where we are right now, I think the good fortunes we have is the maturity of the leaders in the program, and the Kobe Bryants and the Desmond Ritters and the Majay Sanders. And those guys I can name off a bunch, but have been here through a 4-8 season, have had what it's like at the very, very bottom and what it takes to fight out of it. So you hope and believe that that's a lot better recipe for handling some praise than the latter, when all of a sudden some of those guys that are in those positions haven't had to go through those really tough times. So we'll know a lot more as we get rolling into camp, but you believe in the older leadership of this team right now.
Is this one of the oldest teams you've ever been around, with the super seniors and the guys that chose to come back?
Yeah, you know, as you started those last few years in Columbus, you were very limited on the number of seniors a lot of times.
Because they left.
And, yeah, I mean, a lot of guys had left, and very rarely were you starting to see the fifth-year seniors. So for us, that's, you know, kind of what you say you've always wanted to kind of get to, and when
Get
you've
old,
got
stay
a large, steady, strong group of seniors, whether they're fourth or fifth-year guys, that gives you a lot better chance, especially in the game today.
Here's something that's fascinated me, and then we'll get into the team.
This could be we could be way out there now.
It's fast. No, this is actually, I think this one's pretty good. It's football.
Okay.
It's football.
Well, right there.
So you've had success. With success comes turnover on your staff. You've had guys that you've promoted. You've had, you know, the Hitchlers and Greg Scruggs that you brought in from, you know, a player development position. You've hired some guys from the outside like Mike Tressel that you know. I'm more interested in Mike Brown, in Darren Page. When you go into an interview process, keeping your mind open so you don't get dialed in on, it's got to be one of these guys I've got a relationship. It's got to be any of this number of things. How do you end up on a guy like Mike Brown? How do you end up on a guy like Darren Page? And then when they get here, it seems like both of them have been seamlessly part of the family.
I think being here, you've learned a lot of those things in the first few years because we have had turnover. But I think what we've been very fortunate is keeping that core nucleus of guys that you count on and trust. Now, I mean, you don't count on and trust those guys that haven't been here for the whole time, but, you know, the Brian Masons, the Mike Denbrocks, the Gino Gadulis, those are the guys that you relied upon to find them.
Crook, we don't want him to see this and get up.
And Crook, he maybe didn't have as much to do with the wide receiver guys, but all of a sudden when we go to the GAs and some of the O-line guys, yeah, you're right. But those guys and the relationships and trusting them to say, hey, this guy's a really good guy. So, you know, Gino and the Mike Brown connection and the Mike Denbrock was far above anything that I knew. And then obviously Darren Page had a good connection with Brian Mason and had known each other and worked together a little bit special teams wise. And you really trust those guys when they bring that name to you. Say, well, I have a few guys I know, but sometimes it's better to, you know, have some guys that these guys have worked with and they take a little more ownership in it. So I got to give them a lot of credit that they know what we're looking for, what we want, and what has been successful for us here. And when they bring people like that to the table, it's amazing how well they fit and how fast the transition is.
Darren Page was a home run. It had to be a home run in the interview, right? Because when you meet him immediately, the big smile and the big personality, that had to be. Yeah, you got a lot of great candidates for that job.
No, and to have recruited him a little bit out of high school and actually knew him all the way back when he was 18 years old and just remember following a little bit of the career. I think all those connections kind of come back to it too. But you're right. Things do happen. I mean, when you know what it is that you're looking for, I think that's going into your fifth season, knowing when you're looking at some of these positions at what exactly you believe and you're looking for, not what's best for me, but what's best for the whole program. I think it does kind of, you know, show itself pretty quick in those processes.